Good morning, viewers. You are watching Defense Communic. Following the recent Indo-Pak conflict, which saw established paradigms tested and new threats emerge, one capability in particular underscored a critical vulnerability for Pakistan, that is India's BrahMos supersonic cruise missile. Pakistan's air defense system did not stop the BrahMos at limited scale, even though India likely expelled some of its oldest missile stocks with an older generation seeker and electronic stack. If India were to use its newer missiles at large scale, the Pakistan Air Force's ability to mount any form of air power would be rapidly deprecated. BrahMos missile system, a joint Indo-Russian venture that increasingly reflects India's expanding indigenous defense R&D and production base, is not a static threat. It is an evolving capability with significant implications for regional security dynamics and Pakistan's defensive strategy. The BrahMos is a versatile supersonic cruise missile, initially conceived as an anti-ship weapon. However, it has since matured into a multi-platform, multi-role system. According to the details given by defense blogs, approximately 76% of the BrahMos was developed with Indian inputs by 2024, a figure projected to rise to 85%. This highlights a robust domestic capacity to enhance and produce the system. Beyond its original surface-launched anti-ship variant, the BrahMos includes subsurface and air-launched versions. The air-launched BrahMos A, deployed from the Indian Air Force's Sukhoi Su-30 MKI multi-role fighters, was a factor in the recent conflict. Overall, the BrahMos grants India significant operational flexibility, allowing for standoff strikes against critical infrastructure, including Pakistan Air Force airbases, thereby threatening assets even before they can be brought into play. Further development is ongoing, with plans to extend the BrahMos's range, create a more compact and lighter version for integration with a broader range of IAF fighters like the Tejas, and most notably, develop a hypersonic successor, the BrahMos 2. This continuous evolution ensures the BrahMos will remain a pressing concern for Pakistani defense planners. The combination of supersonic speed, low-altitude flight profile, and precision guidance makes it a formidable challenge for conventional air defense systems. India's commitment to this program also suggests an intention to field these missiles in considerable numbers, further complicating the defensive equation. The BrahMos missile system, with its multivariant deployment capability, presents an acute threat. Its core characteristics, notably high supersonic speed, challenging flight trajectory, and precision guidance, significantly reduce the reaction window for defensive systems. This inherent design makes the BrahMos a complex target to intercept and allows it to effectively threaten key operational and strategic assets deep within Pakistani territory. The challenge stems not just from the missile's individual capabilities, but from the potential scale and sophistication with which India can deploy this system. This necessitates a re-evaluation of Pakistan's current air defense infrastructure to ensure it can effectively counter this pervasive threat, particularly against coordinated or saturation attacks. Addressing the BrahMos challenge requires more than just an increase in the quantity of existing air defense assets. It demands a qualitative enhancement, focusing on systems with a proven capability against low-flying, high-speed cruise missiles. Platforms such as MBDA's Common Anti-Air Modular Missile Family or Deal Defense's IRIS-T-SL offer the engagement envelopes and reaction speeds necessary to provide a remotely sufficient defensive layer against SSCMs like the BrahMos. These systems are engineered to intercept maneuvering, supersonic targets, and could provide a credible layer of defense for critical assets, such as the PAF's air bases. Beyond immediate procurement, a more holistic approach is warranted. Pakistan could leverage this challenge as an opportunity to grow its indigenous defense production capabilities. There is potential to integrate such efforts with existing programs, like the National Engineering and Scientific Commission's NESCOM LOW-MADS, which will have a similar coverage range to the Extended Range CMM and IRIS-T-SL families, 7 to 100 kilometers. Developing or co-producing a capable SAM system domestically would not only address the BrahMos threat but also enhance strategic autonomy, a crucial factor given the procurement restrictions and premium costs Pakistan often faces on the international market. Such an initiative would provide a sustainable, long-term solution tailored to Pakistan's specific operational environment and resource considerations. Disappointed with the Chinese air defense systems like HQ-9 and HQ-16, which failed to stop India's drone and missile strikes, and was totally ineffective against the BrahMos, as claimed by Pakistan itself, Islamabad is now looking beyond China to find a worthwhile solution. Pakistan is reportedly exploring a possibility of acquiring a German-made advanced air defense system which has proven to be effective in Ukraine against a Russian cruise missile similar to that of the BrahMos. Last month Ukraine claimed that the recently inducted German air defense system Iris-T SLM had successfully shot down 60 incoming missiles over the last 1 year. Developed by Germany's Diehl Defense, the air defense system performed well against the Russian P-800 Onyx missile, considered somewhat similar to India's BrahMos. Despite its economy tanking and nearly 45% of its citizens now below the poverty line and 16% living in extreme poverty, in its annual budget today upped its defense spending significantly while lowering spending on nearly everything else. However, in the last month alone, cash-strapped Pakistan has managed to secure a $1 billion loan from the IMF and another $800 million from the Asian Development Bank or ADB. Additionally, Pakistan's budget saw a whopping 20% hike in defense spending, while the overall expenditure has been slashed by 7%. Some reports suggest that Pakistan's government has scrapped development projects worth nearly 1,000 billion Pakistani rupees. Amid tensions and reports of recent aerial engagements between India and Pakistan, prominent Pakistani defense analysts have made a revealing admission that Pakistan lacks the capability to intercept India's air-to-surface missiles, particularly the air-launched variant of the BrahMos supersonic cruise missile. Speaking on Pakistani news platforms, defense experts Ikramullah Bhatti and Adil Sultan acknowledged that there is currently no effective air defense system in Pakistan that can stop a missile like the BrahMos A, which was reportedly used by the Indian Air Force during recent strikes on Pakistani air bases. According to Indian media, the IAF deployed BrahMos A cruise missiles, launched from Sukhoi 30 Mki fighter aircraft to target strategic assets of the Pakistan Air Force, including PAF bases such as Jacobabad and Mead. The missile, with its supersonic speed Mach 2.8+, pinpoint accuracy, and range exceeding 400 kilometers, provides India with a potent standoff strike capability. Its deployment allows Indian fighters to hit high-value targets without entering hostile airspace, drastically reducing exposure to enemy air defense systems. During televised discussions, Ikramullah Bhatti admitted that there is no system in Pakistan today that can intercept a BrahMos A missile once launched. Its speed, trajectory, and low-altitude profile make it nearly impossible to counter with current systems. Adil Sultan, a former Pakistani Air Force Air Commodore and defense analyst, echoed the sentiment that the challenge is not just for Pakistan. India too lacks a credible shield against this kind of missile threat. Once such a missile is airborne, the response window is extremely limited. This public admission highlights the growing importance of long-range precision weapons in South Asia's military calculus and the vulnerability of strategic assets in the absence of modern, layered air defense systems. The recent use of BrahMos A by India reflects a doctrinal shift towards standoff precision warfare, reducing the need for deep airspace penetration and enhancing the survivability of strike aircraft. With Pakistan unable to effectively counter such attacks, critical infrastructure including airbases, command centers, and radar stations remain at risk, prompting concerns about strategic imbalance and escalatory dynamics in future conflicts. Moreover, experts note that while Pakistan does field systems like the HQ-16 surface-to-air missile, these are not optimized to counter high-speed, low-flying cruise missiles like BrahMos A, especially in a surprise or saturation attack scenario. The exposure of these vulnerabilities comes as a wake-up call for both countries. For Pakistan, the lack of an effective air defense shield against standoff weapons underscores the need for investment in early warning systems, long-range radar, and high-performance interceptors. On the Indian side, although BrahMos A provides a tactical advantage, experts warn that India must also prepare for the day when Pakistan might acquire similar capabilities, whether indigenously or via foreign partners. During the recent India-Pakistan military conflict, BrahMos supersonic cruise missiles played a crucial role, effectively disabling the air defense and strike capabilities of the adversary and crippling its ability to mount a counteroffensive. This was the first time that BrahMos, a joint venture between India and Russia, was used in combat. A supersonic cruise missile with a range of 300 to 600 kilometers and speeds up to Mach 3, carrying a 200 to 300 kilograms warhead, BrahMos has grabbed global attention for its precision strikes. Before being used in an actual battlefield, the multi-role, multi-platform precision strike missile had been successfully tested several times in ship-to-ship, ship-to-shore, shore-to-ship, ground-to-ground, air-to-ground and air-to-sea configurations. The successful deployment of the weapon, which has sea, land, and air variants, in the conflict may have increased its export value even as a few countries have already expressed interest in the procurement. The Fire and Forget BrahMos is dubbed as one of the fastest and most precise cruise missiles in the world. Perhaps, the biggest endorsement for BrahMos came from none other than Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif when he claimed that the supersonic cruise missile caused damage in various locations in Pakistan during the military conflict. India has already sent the second batch of BrahMos missiles to the Philippines as part of a $375 million deal signed between the two countries in 2022. A few more countries have already shown interest in procuring the missile. Earlier this year, Secretary and Chairman Defense Research and Development Organization DRDO Dr. Samir V. Kamat had said that Indonesia is interested. There are other countries also who have shown interest in BrahMos. Some countries in the Middle East and some other countries in Southeast Asia. Media reports suggest that India is in talks with Vietnam and an agreement is likely in the next few months. Besides Vietnam, Malaysia, UAE, Chile and South Africa are reported to have shown interest in procuring the weapon. According to some reports, as many as 15 countries have expressed interest in the weapon. BrahMos has now gained a place of prominence in India's defense export ambitions and has become a symbol of the country's emergence as a credible, battle-tested arms supplier in line with the Union government's initiative to achieve self-reliance in the defense sector. The missile's accomplishments in the military conflict with Pakistan may make it all the more desirable to countries looking to procure a long-range, highly effective supersonic cruise missile. When the Indian Air Force struck 9 Pakistani airbases with BrahMos missiles during Operation Sindoor, the impact reverberated far beyond the subcontinent. The precision, speed, and devastation caused by these supersonic missiles sent a message loud and clear. India is no longer just a buyer of world-class weaponry, it is also a producer. Widely considered one of the fastest and most accurate cruise missiles, the BrahMos gained overnight celebrity status in military circles. Its blistering attack on Pakistani bases like Rafiq and Mead left their air defenses helpless. The world took notice after this episode of India-Pakistan conflict. Countries across Southeast Asia, the Middle East and even South America began approaching India with interest. Nations like the Philippines, which became the first official buyer in 2022, were soon followed by Vietnam, Indonesia, Egypt, the UAE, Saudi Arabia and Brazil, all of them eager to acquire the missile that left Pakistan's defenses in tatters. However, there is a significant roadblock. India cannot sell BrahMos freely as the missile is not entirely Indian. BrahMos is the result of a joint venture between India's Defense Research and Development Organization DRDO and Russia's NPO Mashinostroyenia. The BrahMos Aerospace oversees the missile's production, but every sale to a third country requires Moscow's approval. Both nations have a 50-50 stake in the missile's technology, and therefore, India cannot export it without Russia's formal consent. This veto power has major strategic implications. For instance, even if a country like Indonesia is ready to sign a deal, negotiations can stall if Russia is hesitant due to its geopolitical interests or existing alliances. In case of Middle Eastern countries such as Saudi Arabia or the UAE, nations with close U.S. ties and complicated relationships with Moscow, Russia might have serious reservations. And in regions like the South China Sea, where tensions are high, Russia may prefer to avoid escalating conflicts by indirectly arming one side through BrahMos sales. Even countries India sees as key defense partners must wait for the Kremlin's nod. Adding to this complexity is India's commitment to the Missile Technology Control Regime (MTCR), a global agreement that prevents the export of missiles with a range beyond 300 kilometers to non-member states. To stay compliant, the export version of BrahMos has a capped range of 290 kilometers, much lower than the extended range variants India now uses itself, some of which can reportedly reach up to 800 kilometers. So, not only does India need Russian approval, it also has to limit the missile's capabilities for international buyers. This dual restriction, Russia's co-ownership and MTCR rules, has exposed the paradox in India's defense ambitions. On one hand, India wants to become a global arms exporter and reduce its reliance on foreign suppliers. The irony could not be sharper. The very missile that showcased India's military prowess against Pakistan has now become a reminder of its dependence. If New Delhi wants to use BrahMos as a tool of diplomacy and deterrence, it will have to either renegotiate export terms with Moscow or accelerate development of a completely indigenous alternative with no strings attached. Until then, the BrahMos will remain India's deadliest weapon, but one it cannot fully unleash on the global stage. Thanks for watching Defense Communic.